Carcassonne is a tile placement area control strategy board game for 2 to 5 players which takes place in the town of Carcassonne, France. The idea of the game is simple. Players draw from randomized stacks of tiles which depict a certain type of landscape. Then they add that tile to the tiles already laid out on the table. To add a tile to the landscape, there must be a connecting feature. For example, you must lay an uninterrupted field against another uninterrupted field, a road to a road, a town to a town, and so on. In general, the shapes must connect in a sensical way. Players get 1 meeple to track their score and 7 more to lay in the landscape. If the player chooses, they can lay a meeple to score a certain type of continuous terrain, and the meeple would score when that terrain is completed or totally enclosed. The terrains each have different scoring conditions, including roads, fields, towns, and monasteries. However, only 1 meeple from any player can be laid in a single continuous feature at a given time, although 2 of that feature could become legally connected later. Once feature is scored, the meeple returned to that player can be played again, except fields where the meeple remains for the whole game. The game ends when all tiles have been played. Roads score 1 point per connected road tile, cities score 2 points per connected tile of the city within completed city walls, plus 2 more for each coat of arms symbol within that city. Completed monasteries with tiles on all sides score 9 points, and fields score 3 points per completed city that their uninterrupted fields touch. Incomplete roads and monasteries at the end of the game score 1 point per laid tile, whereas cities score only 1 point per incomplete city tile and 1 point per coat of arms, and fields only get points for completed cities they touch. The winner is the player with the most points after all points have been tabulated.
Carcassonne. Man, what can I say about this game? There's so much to say about such a simple game. I mean, it's so simple that you would think there wasn't a whole lot to say about it, but in fact, man, there's a lot. And don't take my word for it. There's probably other people that say other things about it too. But it's a game that, it reminds me of a kind of a combination of games, different tile builder games. I mean, there's a lot of those. Some better than others, but it's kind of a combination of that and resource management games without the complication of the resource gathering. You usually have the tiles of resources. I got grains, and I've got steel, and I've got bread. That would probably be under grains, but that game sucks. Don't think about it. But this doesn't have any of that. It's just roads that are on the tiles, and cities that are on the tiles, and farms that are on the tiles. So you just play it as you gain cards, which you do every turn, and you just figure out which way best to place them, and whether you want to place basically a point on it each time. And there are long-term goals that you could do more so, or you could do short-term, like, ooh, I got a quick 4 points, I want that. Or you could try to play the long game, which is similar to a lot of the point style games. So it's kind of a combination of a lot of things, but in a simple package, which is it's pretty good. I don't think it reaches the heights of some of the other games that can be more complex and have different things. But there you go, cut me off there.
Okay, Carcassonne. I really like this game as far as all of the old classic games that you come to mind, like Catan, and like Castles of Burgundy, stuff like that. Some of the old classic games that really got this designer board game movement going. I think Carcassonne's probably my favorite. I've not played the digital version, but I'm anxious to, because it's such a deceptively simple game. It sounds like, oh, it's a city builder, right? Like, that's complicated. It's going to require, as Cody mentioned, like resource management and whatnot. However, there's like pretty much no resource management. It almost has nothing to do with actually the logistics of a city. There's a little bit of a continuation, continuity element, I guess. But other than that, it's mostly just how to draw a city or draw the infrastructure of a city. It's basically, just the roads, the cities, the monasteries, and the fields, and, the expansions, whatever. But it's basically just making sure that all of these pieces that you draw fit together. So it's almost kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. So it's not much more complicated than that. The setup is less than 30 seconds. The rules explanation, if you do it right, is less than a minute. And everyone can generally play with that minimal foreknowledge. And so it's good for beginners. It's good for experts because there is a bit of a learning curve, that there's like some expert moves you can do that kind of like strategize that kind of a long-term game that pays off with a lot of points. But yeah, it is really just kind of drawing a city. I guess thematically, I'm disappointed that it doesn't have more to do with like the logistics and the resource management and whatnot. And also, we played it one time tonight. I ended up winning with a strategy where I incompleted cities, and that seems unfair too.
So Adrian and I just got done playing Carcassonne, and some additional points to go with what they said. One, the artwork is pretty basic and bland. It could probably stand to use some more variety, even if it's just like, like for monasteries for example. They could just have like different looking monasteries. Then let's see. Then the strategies for the game, as far as like screwing over your opponents, I didn't really get into that too much. I was kind of more concerned with building my own cities and roads, and I don't know. There's probably a lot of things I could have done to screw over Adrian and Cody, but I just didn't really think about it, or I don't know. Like I said, I was just trying to get my own cities built and get my own points. And then let's see what else. The there's like additional gameplay rules that we did not use. Like there's our river tiles. I'm not exactly sure how they play into the overall game, but I do know we did not use them. So I'm not sure how that affects the game, unfortunately. But and there's like other ways you can score. Like I think we did do score based on like farming field pieces, which turns your character into a farmer, and that's not actually part of the main game. That's like an additional thing you can do, and we decided to do it. And then that's all I can think of, so I'm just going to stare at the screen for...
You're done.
Okay.
That was perfect. Cody's never seen this before.
Huh? Oh!
They emailed me and they're like, we would like you to check out this new one. It's an underwater light.
That's kind of out of my...
I think it's 5,000 and change lumens.
For some reason, I couldn't imagine that's like being easier for like a scuba diver or something to hold on to.
Yeah, the handle.
Sure, well, and it'll get hot too, possibly. Sounds obviously a lot floatier.
Yeah, it's very floody. And I think they said it's high throw.
It's not really favorable. It's got really bright low mode. You don't see any ring around the light. Like that's kind of a big thing for LEDs. Like it's called a tint shift. Some of them will shift like purple or
I don't know
usually green.
Okay, so there's the lowest setting. A little bit more, all the way. A lot of flood. That's actually quite bright.
Not that it's bad, but this isn't designed for me. I don't go underwater. They don't make underwater lights because it's a very niche
Yeah.
kind of thing. But now apparently they do with So Firm, who, you know, is already kind of like killing it with like the budget lights. Or your BLF Q8, it's about that size-ish. You know, with a handle, so like you could double use that for sure. The beam, I mean, this is probably gonna be a little better overall beam and brightness, but you could use this for both, so you know that would be pretty handy for somebody who does want an underwater light.
Normally retails for about 80.
Kind of light like this that has experience with budget, and this is budget, and it's probably a hell of a lot cheaper than anything you can buy that's this bright for this. It's probably
So it's 4 18650s. The emitter is 3 times luminous SST 40 5500K LEDs. If that tells you anything.
So, yeah, not like preferable. SST40 is more just about sheer output, so it's a little more floody, and the CRI isn't as good. And at 5500K, it's a little cool, but it's not too bad. It gives you a lot of output for what, you know, for not a lot of like heat or battery consumption. So you get cooler if they had like a little better of an LED, but I don't know. Yeah, I think that surprises me that they would use this LED, especially like for underwater. You'd think you'd really want good CRI for like the really correct color reproduction. The SST20s on that empty one is like 95 plus, and that's about as good as you can get. This is gonna be like 70, so I assume that it doesn't rust there. It seems like that'd be something I'd be worried about, but I wouldn't have any clue whether that would be something to worry about, I suppose. But this would make a good boat light. Like, you know, maybe if you're using it for boating and something else, maybe I'd choose one of those other ones. But if you're just keeping it on a boat, this one for sure. But either way, it's cool that they get into this game because there's a whole lot out there. So it seems like a pretty cool thing. Pretty cheap. I'm sure it's much cheaper than the dedicated diving lights. So.